$82 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,410. Antiwar.com reports Israeli officials and other diplomats familiar with the situation are finally detailing the circumstances regarding the lead-up to the southern Syria ceasefire agreement reached between the U.S. and Russia, revealing secret talks were held in Amman and in an unnamed European capital city about the plan beforehand. Israeli officials were involved in the talks and, unsurprisingly, given their public position since the ceasefire was announced, made clear they were unconditionally opposed to the ceasefire agreement and objected to the creation of safe zones to limit combat in the areas. The reason for Israel's opposition to the ceasefire similarly appears to have been exactly what they've complained about since, that they believe any calm in Syria necessarily benefits Iran, and that anything that might conceivably move towards ending the Syria war must hand Iran some sort of specific defeat. It is the Iran-centric view of the Syrian conflict, despite Iran having a fairly limited involvement in it, which has led Israeli military officials to say that they don't want the Islamic State to lose in Syria, and since the announcement of the ceasefire that they are prepared to join conflict simply to ensure that Iran, by which they mean Shiite government, doesn't win. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the United States on Wednesday introduced new sanctions on 8 new Venezuelan officials, including Aiden Coramato Chavez Frias, the brother of late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. The U.S. Treasury announced the sanctions were against those involved in organizing or supporting the country's new Constituent Assembly, which granted President Nicolas Maduro virtually unlimited powers. The 545-member legislative body was elected on July 30th. It has the power to rewrite the Constitution and dissolve the country's elected parliament, the opposition-controlled National Assembly. On July 31st, the United States levied sanctions against Maduro, freezing all of his assets subject to U.S. jurisdiction. The Treasury Department on Wednesday said the Constituent Assembly was elected through an undemocratic process instigated by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government to subvert the will of the Venezuelan people. The statement by the Treasury Department also decried the Assembly's first action, which was to oust Attorney General Luisa Marvelia Ortega Diaz. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said President Maduro swore in this illegitimate Constituent Assembly to further entrench his dictatorship and continues to tighten his grip on the country. This regime's disregard for the will of the Venezuelan people is unacceptable, and the United States will stand with them in opposition to tyranny until Venezuela is restored to a peaceful and prosperous democracy. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports United Airlines has apologized to the owners of a dog who died in an aircraft cargo hold during a flight from Houston to San Francisco, the latest death of an animal under the airline's care. ABC News reported that the Rasmussen family's 5-year-old King Charles Spaniel, Lulu, was aboard the United plane on Sunday when it was delayed on the tarmac for 2 hours before taking off. The family said the dog had been cleared to fly by a veterinarian days before the flight and died in the cargo hold. United said in a statement, "We are sorry to learn of Lulu's passing and have reached out to our customers to offer our condolences and assistance. We are conducting a thorough review of the incident." The U.S. Department of Transportation data showed that United had 9 of the 26 deaths of animals reported last year during air transport, more than any other airline. United's handling of animals drew headlines this spring when a giant rabbit named Simon died during a trip from Britain to the Iowa State Fair. Investors in that animal have sued United, claiming its workers were responsible for its death. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Tallahassee Zoo, which faced a major budget crisis. Luckily, they were able to get both, keep guests and animals happy and stay profitable.
And that's thanks to the zoo's new director, Maxwell Jeffries.
Happy to be here, thank you.
Good morning.
Now, what's the most profitable part of the zoo? The elephants, the tigers?
No, the gift shop, okay? Food court. But now the entire zoo is the gift shop. So you come to the zoo, you look around, you see something you like, make me an offer. I'm a businessman. I want to make people happy. You're probably familiar with the old saying, don't feed the animals.
Oh, right, of course.
Okay, well, that's old-fashioned thinking. At our zoo, you can feed the animals.
Anything you want?
Anything you want. Oats, eggs, batteries, you name it. And we also invented a new tiered membership system. So for your standard membership, you go to the zoo, you get to see the animals. For your gold level membership, you get to pick any two animals, make them fight each other. Yeah, and then with a platinum, you get 1 hour alone in the zoo. No questions asked. Yeah.
Wow.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can call in and join us and bring up whatever is on your mind. The us in studio tonight is Darryl.
And Chris.
And Chris, did you hear this story? I've been seeing this on Facebook and on Twitter for the last couple of days. This gym owner down in Atlanta, Georgia, that has a sign up that, in more than a few words, says cops are not allowed in his gym.
I saw the headline, and that was it. So I have not read this story. I'm looking forward to hearing this one as much as everybody else.
So there's actually an update to the story. So I guess we should, actually cover what exactly is the story before giving the update to the story.
Makes sense.
And again, out of Atlanta, Georgia, 11 Alive has the story where they report a shocking and vulgar sign about police officers has been posted in front of a local business in Atlanta. The sign could be seen from the street with the curse words blurred out, but the message was clear: no cops allowed. A viewer of 11 Alive emailed a photo of the sign to the news department, and the person says that he's a military veteran and was offended by what he saw.
Oh, dear.
11 Alive's Faith Ababi talked to the gym's owner, who is not making any apologies for putting up the sign. Jim Chambers, who's owner of the EAV Barbell Club on Flat Shoals Avenue in the city's East Atlanta Village neighborhood, said it was really just the vulgarity in the sign that seemed to bring people out. And the sign says, rules, do whatever the blank you want correctly, except CrossFit cultism, no blank cops.
I'm assuming the no blank cops is probably no blank in cops.
Probably. They've got the entire thing blurred out here.
A little supposition there.
The owner here, Mr. Chambers, says that the no cops policy is no longer plastered on the front door, but the policy still stands. He says, I don't want the other folks there to take the heat for what I'm willing to take. Despite the backlash, he says he still stands behind the message. He says, we've had an explicitly stated no cops policy since we opened, and we also don't have memberships for active members of the military. For Chambers, a lifelong political activist, the sign and policy is a political statement outside of a multi-use space that serves as a gym, a community gathering spot, and a meeting place for political activists in the Atlanta area. He says the groups who work there are generally minorities and are uncomfortable with the presence of law enforcement. And, of course, he does go on to say that if they have a warrant, or even if they don't, they'll do whatever if they want. But he says, we're not breaking any laws. And 11 Alive talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer said, yeah, police and military are not protected classes under anti-discrimination laws, so this guy is not doing anything illegal.
Right.
Now, here's the update. And, of course, your calls and thoughts. Welcome, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The update, and this actually comes from 9 News out of somewhere completely different other than Atlanta, I believe here. They recap a little bit, and, well, here's the update. In an email sent to the newsroom, Tommy Lefevre said he'd like to challenge the gym's owner to a match at an upcoming boxing event. Lefevre is a police officer. He's not happy about the no cops policy. He says he seems like he might enjoy getting the opportunity to punch a cop in the face, and I'd be happy to oblige him and give him that opportunity.
Huh.
So what do you think here, Chris? And there's a little bit more. There's a response from Chambers about the challenge, if you will.
Well, first of all, I'm curious as to whether how long has this gym been in existence? That's my first question. And how long have they had?
The articles do not mention when it opened, but he does say that they've had the no cop, no military policy since it opened.
I guess what I'm getting at is, was this ever a issue until that sign went up? You know what I mean?
Probably not.
Were cops offended that they couldn't go there and get a membership, or were members of the military who were active duty, were they offended that they couldn't get a
Probably not.
Right.
And he even speculates that he thinks it's because he actually put up a sign.
Well, sure.
That wound up, causing some jimmies to be rustled, if you will.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. And we see this all the time. It drives me nuts, and until somebody says something that somebody doesn't like, free speech,
right?
Then it's not an issue, and then suddenly, oh my God, it's headlines across the country. It's viral on social media.
And looking at the Facebook page, I did find a Facebook page for the EAV Barbell Club. According to that, they opened sometime last year. So 2016. And I also find it interesting that they have a 2.1 star rating. Now, I'm curious because anybody can rate a business on Facebook. I'm curious of the people leaving these low reviews for this gym. How many of those people have ever actually been to the gym? How many of those people have ever actually been to Atlanta?
Well, that's what happens. That's the double-edged sword of social media and of rating systems in general, unless you have some qualifier like must have spent money here to leave a rating or must have eaten in this restaurant. We have some way of figuring it out.
Right, but there are some people that they believe, well, if we just have some reputation-based society to where you just leave reviews for everybody, then you'll only ever wind up interacting with people you want to interact with because, rating systems.
Right. But I think as we get more used to rating systems, as these things are in existence longer and longer, you'll be able to kind of see through the FUD. And we take Netflix, for example. It was the Amy Schumer special. Her last one.
Didn't see it.
That's okay. I didn't watch it either. But a lot of conservatives have been really down on Amy Schumer. So they would go into Netflix and this was all over social media, rate this a, half star, whatever the lowest rating is. And so Amy Schumer's new special is rated at a 0.001% like or whatever it happens to be. It has nothing to do with whether anybody ever watched it. It has everything to do just about that. So I look at that rating and I go, okay, I'm not nuts about Amy Schumer either, but it's probably not really that bad.
Right.
I recognize that it's just being manipulated.
The article here continues the story, that being the story about Chambers' business and the sign, sparked the idea to Lefevre, who, again, is the police officer somewhere in the Atlanta area. He did request that the department he works for remain anonymous, so that's not being reported in the media. He told 11 Alive's Chris Hopper he understands the challenges police officers face in 2017, But the 7-year police veteran said he hopes a boxing match will change Chambers' mind.
How's that?
Quote, I found that if you sweat and bleed with somebody, you exchange punches with somebody in a sport like boxing, it's hard not to respect the guy for getting in there with you afterwards.
What's that have to do with somebody who's concerned about the minorities that are mostly his customers and that use this location for other purposes too? What's that have to do with, what's one thing have to do with another? This is just, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to beat his butt.
Quote, continues gaining mutual respect for another in the boxing ring might be the start of something that can help overcome differences in worldview, ideology, what have you. So what do you think? Should the gym owner take up the challenge to box a cop because he doesn't want police messing around with the minorities in his gym? 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
If you're a sleep apnea sufferer who's on the go, go to your phone. Because if you give us a call right now, you'll be able to try the world's first portable mini CPAP device absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights. It's the Transcend Mini CPAP, an engineering marvel that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. Its unique design is so small and so light, you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. No more dragging around a big, bulky CPAP. Even better, now you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights by calling minicpap.com, 1-800-768-3138. Transcend is FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. You can also add a battery pack that's as tiny as a deck of cards. So now you can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. But don't wait. To receive your 10-night in-home trial, call minicpap.com now, 1-800-768-3138. That's 1-800-768-3138.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
And membership is only $9.95.
Yep. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin. mymagicmud.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we started off the show talking about the gym owner, Mr. Chambers, who owns the EAV, EAV something club. Barbell Club. I closed the story, so I didn't have the name right in front of me. He put up a sign recently, apparently, saying no cops. Had a few other words on there. And, well, he wound up getting a little bit of flack.
Whole lot of flack on social media.
Yeah, a lot on social media, but at least one local police officer, according to media reports, challenged him to a boxing match. Says that he thinks that will cause him to wind up gaining some kind of respect. Of course, your calls and thoughts welcome on that. We're actually going to change gears. Apparently, Trump has said something about the opioid epidemic. We'll get into that, but let's talk nutritional supplements for a minute. Over 60% of Americans take a nutritional supplement, and for good reason. Nutrient depletion of our soil, coupled with dependence on processed foods, has left most people deficient in essential nutrients. But where do you start? If you visit a naturopath, you'll likely be told a cheap vitamin or mineral supplement just won't cut it. You need probiotics, enzymes, antioxidants, and other nutrients. By the time it's all said and done, you're buying 5 bottles of products and spending $150 a month. If this is a situation you've experienced, then you need to know about Whole Food Multi-Complete. For 15 years, Whole Food Multi-Complete has been quietly providing what the big guys won't. The perfect blend of 7 supplements in a single product. They've taken the expense and complexity out of following a complete supplement program. Visit simplifymysupplements.com to learn more. That's simplifymysupplements.com. Enter code FTL to receive 10% off your order every time you order. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back.
So, CNN is reporting that Trump is saying that the, quote, opioid crisis is an emergency. CNN, President Donald Trump said Thursday that his administration plans to declare the opioid crisis a national emergency, a designation that would offer states and federal agencies more resources and power to combat the epidemic.
So, let me sort of translate this from fluffy words to actual human language. More power and resources means more money and screw civil rights.
You're jumping ahead and you're making assumptions.
Well, that's what it always means, Chris.
You're right.
Time.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Every time.
Okay.
There's a federal emergency or disaster situation. It means that we're throwing more money at the law enforcement. We're throwing more money at something that somebody believes will be the solution.
Okay, so
and civil rights be damned.
My challenge to you is to tell me what this story is missing. And I want to point out that this is coming from CNN, the fake news network of the United States, according to the Trump administration. Okay, so, quote, the opioid crisis is an emergency, and I'm saying officially right now it's an emergency, because he likes to repeat himself.
Yes.
It's a national emergency. He repeated himself again. Trump said at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, we're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money on the opioid crisis. We're going to draw it up. We're going to make it a national emergency. It's a serious problem, the likes of which we have never seen. Trump's comments come just 2 days after Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price suggested that declaring a national emergency was unnecessary.
So is Tom Price now part of the fake news? Oh, Tom Price, you said something I disagree with. You're fake news.
He opposed it. Quote, we believe that at this point, the resources that we need or the focus that we need to bring to bear to the opioid crisis can be addressed without the declaration of an emergency, Price said, although all things are on the table for the president. Trump made it known exactly where he stood Thursday. Quote, this is a national emergency, and we are drawing documents now to so attest, unquote. The White House Commission examining the nation's opioid epidemic has told Trump last week that declaring a national public health emergency would be an immediate help to combating the ongoing crisis. Quote, our citizens are dying. We must act boldly to stop it, the commission said, headed by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who said that in an interim report. The first and most urgent recommendations of this commission is direct and completely within your control. Declare a national emergency.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that Trump created some commission to study
the problem.
Study the problem. And they said, oh, yeah, you need to declare a national emergency. You've got the Health and Human Services, who also apparently has studied the problem, and they said you can solve this without declaring a national emergency.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about how federal programs, emergency programs work. It's sort of like if you declare a area a disaster area after a hurricane, for example.
Yep.
Then that, when you make that declaration, it opens up the spigots of money that's been printed by the Federal Reserve and inflates your money. But that all can flow to that area. It unleashes federal funds. And the same sort of thing exists within Health and Human Services, that when there is a, quote, health emergency that occurs, it opens up federal funding and relief money, supposedly. But I want to continue with this. I don't have much more, but I want to talk about what's not in this. Among other recommendations were to rapidly increase treatment capacity for those who need substance abuse help, to establish and fund better access to medication-assisted programs, and to make sure that healthcare providers are aware of the potential for misuse and abuse of prescription opioids by enhancing prevention efforts at medical and dental schools.
I'm curious here, and let's go through these one by one and sort of break down and see if we can figure out exactly what is being proposed here.
Okay.
So increase treatment capacity for those who need substance abuse help.
Mm-hmm.
Does this just mean, allow people to wind up going to a doctor and saying, I think I have an addiction problem, and the doctor not being required to contact the local police because I know that
I don't think they're talking about this at all.
Crime is being committed here.
You can go
or are they talking about we need to wind up spending a bunch of money to open up government-approved treatment centers?
I think, the issue is, and this is across the country, is there are not enough beds. That's it, pure and simple. Just like there are a certain number of hospital beds in a given area, and if it gets hit by a earthquake or some disaster, may not be enough to go around. With the opioid problem, and there are not enough beds in treatment facilities to treat everyone who's coming, so there are waiting lists, and people are being turned away. That's what this is attempting to correct.
Right, but
part of it.
Why aren't there enough treatment facilities? Is it because there are regulations preventing new ones from being opened? Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
If there's a toxic chemical, biological, gas, smoke emergency while traveling, at home, or on your job, are you protected? Are you prepared? There are over 400,000 fires in the USA every year. Up to 85% of all deaths in a fire are due to smoke inhalation. 3 minutes without air, and we as humans will die. Be prepared and escape safely with our Safe Escape smoke hoods, giving you up to 60 minutes of breathable air protection. Order yours online at ase-safety.com. That's ase-safety.com. And get up to 40% off plus free shipping.
Is that Ellen painting her garage?
Yesterday she was trimming her hedges.
What's her secret?
I heard she was eating this new super berry called the aronia berry.
Aronia what?
Aronia berries from superberries.com. They're known for having one of the highest levels of antioxidants that helps with overall wellness.
Where can we get them?
Go to superberries.com/radio. And right now we get a free smoothie recipe book with our order. Plus we can save $4 at checkout.
I can't wait. I've got lots of projects I need to get done.
Yes, you do.
Choose health. Eat purple. Superberries.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road underground market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the opioid crisis that Donald Trump says is now a national emergency. And what exactly does that mean? Well, it means first and foremost, he's going to sign a piece of paper. He already gave a statement earlier today saying the opioid crisis is an emergency, and I'm saying officially right now it's an emergency. It's a national emergency. We're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money on the opioid crisis. So we're going through an article here from CNN, the we being me, Darryl.
And Chris.
And there are several things that are specifically mentioned in the article about what this means. And I wanted to tackle these one by one to sort of, break down, because, a lot of times news media will report in one way based largely on wording, either from some sort of transcripts they get from a government entity, or
press release,
a press release, or wording in some kind of official document. And then there's always sort of the underlying, let's translate to see what they actually are saying. So again, among the other recommendations, in addition to directing Congress to something and declaring a national emergency, they will rapidly increase treatment capacity for those who need substance abuse help. And again, we're sort of trying to figure out, does this mean that the federal government is going to start opening up treatment facilities? Will the federal government just start throwing money at currently existing treatment facilities? If the latter, then will that, as Chris pointed out, right now there aren't enough beds in the treatment facilities. So if they just wind up getting money thrown at them, will they be able to expand to get more beds, or will they just, be less efficient with the money?
Right.
Next, establish and fund better access to medication-assisted treatment programs.
Yeah, I kind of see those going hand in hand, because most states don't have enough treatment facilities. And there's a couple reasons. I mean, licensing.
Well, one of these sounds like an inpatient facility, and the other sounds like an outpatient.
Well, it sounds like methadone.
Right.
But to do any of these things, if you wanted to provide these services, I mean, you're going to jump through more hoops into piles of red tape than you can imagine.
Right.
Because you're entering healthcare, and that is one of our most regulated industries in the United States, hence our high costs.
And the third item here, before we continue with the story, make sure that healthcare providers are aware of the potential for misuse and abuse of prescription opiates by enhancing prevention efforts at medical and dental schools.
That one's kind of interesting. So there's a lot of studies out there, and we've talked about them on the air before, that talk about what a high percentage of our opioid death, our overdose deaths are due to prescription opioids.
Yes.
It's not just heroin and needles.
Right.
That's a growing percentage, sadly. But it's just swung so back and forth. And in a separate story we were talking about during the news, our state, New Hampshire, is suing Purdue, who was not the chicken guys, but
not the university either.
No, but the original manufacturers of OxyContin. And they've been criticized for some real questionable marketing tactics.
Right, and I think there are legitimate concerns about some of the marketing tactics, if you will, of Big Pharma.
Oh, yeah, but those are directed at the graduates of medical and dental schools.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I putting a little bit more towards helping prospective doctors and dentists sort of weed through all the fluff that they're going to hear from Big Pharma.
Right, but maybe instead of just, going to the guys in medical and dental school, since there's hoops that need to be jumped through to maintain a medical license.
Sure.
How about having the people, wind up taking this class during their time period for what do they call it, like continuing education?
Sure.
Hey, here's ways that you wind up not being manipulated by Big Pharma people. It would be almost the same thing as asking a lawyer to take a remedial ethics class every now and then.
And we see that in business, and I hope we see that more in the public sector where, and I do know we do see that at least at a town level, where continuing education and things like that are often web-based and they're often free to the entity.
Right.
Just takes your time. So that would be a good thing. It sucks because it's swung. It's been such a pendulum that people that used to get pain medication, a friend of ours in Pennsylvania just underwent surgery, and it was major surgery. We're not talking, a hangnail or something like that.
Right.
She was laid up She was in the hospital for days, and then she was home laid up for weeks. And she had to beg and beg to get enough painkillers just for the first couple days.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, take ibuprofen. She's like, you're kidding me, right?
Now, if you've got a major surgery, you're going to want, Percocets.
Right.
You're going to want, possibly Valium. Ibuprofen isn't going to do anything.
Right.
For that kind of pain.
So in the early days, before we had the opioid crisis, doctors were like, wow, well, I just had that rep from Purdue in there, and they were telling me that you can be on opioids, on OxyContin for a year without getting addicted, and you can give it to children and everything else. So they would have likely prescribed her 3 or 4 months worth. Now, after the opioid crisis blows up and everybody's scared out of their wits about what to do, now doctors are like, I'm not going to be the one who prescribes anything. So now pain management, the science of pain management is suffering because we don't have those tools that in the past were used responsibly.
Right.
So
let's continue here with the article again from CNN. And, of course, your calls and thoughts. Welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
You bet. Among other, we did that one. It's not immediately clear what has changed since Tuesday when Price said the president had no immediate plans for an emergency declaration.
Price being the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Thank you. The agency has yet to respond to a request for comment. Since 1999, the number of American overdose deaths involving opioids has quadrupled, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. From 2000 to 2015, more than 500,000 people died of drug overdoses, and new opioids account for the majority of those. New government data shows an increase in opioid overdose deaths during the first 3 quarters of last year, an indication that efforts to curb the epidemic are not working. Trump made fighting opioid abuse a key plank in his platform during his 2016 campaign, especially in states ravaged by the heroin and prescription drug abuse. Quote, I just want to let the people of New Hampshire know that I'm with you 1,000%, unquote, Trump said in that state just before Election Day. He later promised to help people who are, quote, so seriously addicted, unquote. Declaring a public health emergency makes the opioid epidemic the government's top priority, infusing much-needed cash into hard-hit areas and bolstering response resources.
And again, what exactly does this mean? Because you mentioned we're in New Hampshire. Last year, the New Hampshire legislature passed through something they call Granite Hammer that's supposed to tackle the opioid thing.
Right.
But what's been happening is they've just been arresting users.
Yep. And
throw more money at the cops and go arrest people that have a health problem.
Yeah, was it Jim Rubens, who ran for Senate in New Hampshire, did an interview at the Cheshire County Jail right here in Keene, New Hampshire, and he talked to inmates about what's the first thing they're going to do. After they've been in there for 6 months and they got busted for drugs, their answer was always, go get a fix.
This is Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts. Welcome. 855-450-FREE.
Have you ever thought you'd like to flip houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? Are you ready to be your own boss so you can start living the good life? Hi, I'm Preston Ely. I used to be so broke. I had my electricity turned off 9 times, but I figured out a way to quit my job and find financial freedom in real estate. For a limited time, I want to send you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It shows you how to copy exactly what I did so you can make money from the comfort of your own home without even doing any manual labor. I've already given away 5,000 books and they're going fast. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-958-9256. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. It's short, fun to read, easy to understand, and awesome. To find out how to get your free book while supplies last, call 1-800-958-9256. Call 1-800-958-9256. 1-800-958-9256.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit portablesolarllc.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at portablesolarllc.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to portablesolarllc.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Quiet and reserved temp Kevin Bright surprised his coworkers this week when they discovered that the mild-mannered 27-year-old was actually an untalented singer-songwriter.
How did I get here? It's probably a tree.
Bright, who mostly keeps to himself at work, usually spends his free time embarrassing himself at open mics across the city, and that underneath his meek and soft-spoken exterior is a terrible guitarist with no musical sensibility whatsoever.
You see him in the office, he's this quiet, reserved kid, and you would never think, oh, he's got a great voice and a wonderful stage presence, and you'd be totally right.
In other news, an Ohio Film Festival graphic designer decides to go with film reels for the O's. And getting grandma into a family reunion t-shirt is a 3-person job. The entire 144-minute cut of this week's review is available now for just $11.99 on Laserdisc. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we're talking about this national emergency because of the opioid crisis. And, well, apparently that means that the federal government's going to be throwing around a lot of money. But you don't need money to do business on combt.com. It's a slick, easy-to-use marketplace where you trade your talents for other people's services and abilities. You can forget the old economy. This is your economy. Simbi.com. SIMBI.com. You won't believe the diversity of services on Simbi.com. Hundreds of thousands of people are working within the symbiotic economy. Go create an account at Simbi.com. SIMBI.com. Take a look around and post your services. Simbi.com. We'll get back into the article from CNN about the new national emergency because of the opioid crisis, including quotes from Dr. Sanjay Gupta. But first, to your calls. And we've got Will Coley calling in on Skype. Will, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl and Chris. What's on your mind?
Hey, Darryl. How you doing today, bud?
Doing well, doing well.
So last week about this time, I called you guys and said that we were going to do a fundraiser and that we had just announced that we were going to try to move up that direction and open a mosque and interfaith center. And we just signed the contracts on the property today, about an hour ago.
Wow.
Excellent.
And we've already spoken to some like carpenter type workers in the area about getting the work done before we get there. And counting the money that we raised offline and the money we've raised online and the cryptocurrency together, we've got a little over 4,000 of the 11,000 that we were trying to raise, that we wanted to have raised by the 1st of September. We've raised that in about a week so far.
Oh, congratulations.
Excellent. So just quick math, you're a little over 1/3 of the way to the goal?
Yeah. A little over 1/3. Not quite half.
Yep. So what's the current timeline on this?
Beginning of September, move up. I have an event in Philadelphia on the 9th. So the plan is to have everything ready so that I do my event in Philadelphia on the 9th, and then we get up the 10th and just continue from Philadelphia to New Hampshire instead of having to come home and then turn around and drive.
Right.
Yep.
That 11 or 12 hours again.
Yeah. That
do it all in
definitely
one shot.
makes more sense.
Yeah, try to do it all in one shot, and then be in New Hampshire sometime around the 11th or the 10th or the 11th or the 12th, depending on, we'll be pulling a trailer, so we'll only be able to go about 55 or 60 miles an hour in that old van. So
yep,
that means slow trip, a little extra time. So we'll probably stop and get a hotel at least one, if not 2 nights on our way up, and then. Like I said, hopefully pull into your area the 11th or the 12th.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing you, and definitely keep us updated on the fundraiser and also the entire project.
Right.
Is there a very short URL that people can go to find more info on this project?
No, not really. The URL is extremely long. It's launchgood.com/open _the_first_.
You know what? Just go to launchgood.com and search for New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Good advice.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest thing to do instead of giving the entire URL there, since it's not just,
The URL is
open a mosque in New Hampshire.com.
Pretty much. But we're working on building a Facebook page for the mosque and all that kind of stuff now, and getting an ad campaign put together already. Mike White, a guy who works the Libertarian Party, is helping us with that. So this is moving along nicely at this point.
Excellent. Will, thank you for the update.
Yeah.
And again, look forward to seeing you up here soon. And again, based on that timeline, about a month.
Right.
Chris, let's get back into this article here from Fake News CNN about Donald Trump declaring a national emergency because of the opioid crisis.
Yeah, and just as a real brief recap, Donald Trump made this declaration. That means it frees up federal monies to begin flowing specifically to address the opioid crisis.
And again, I think it's rather interesting that just 2 days ago, Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services said that they didn't need to declare a national emergency, that we've already got all the resources we need.
Right.
But Chris Christie, who had some commission that Trump created, said, yeah, go ahead, declare a national emergency. And so Trump decided to do what Chris Christie suggested.
Yeah, not surprising. And if you think about it, it's sort of like the outside consultant says, yeah, go ahead and spend all this money. The guy that actually has to work there and is responsible for the budget, he's like, we can do it without it. I kind of get that. Back to the story, though. We get some responses from some folks here. CNN chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta said the question will that money be used to increase hospital bed availability, medically assisted therapy for the millions of people currently addicted, and widely available naloxone to prevent overdose deaths? ?
Naloxone, of course, being probably best known as Narcan,
right?
Which is an opioid blocker. So you can't, just like go take some Narcan and then shoot up heroin and not have any side effects. Right. If you are overdosing, then somebody can give you Narcan, and then it will prevent the overdose.
Yep, it pretty much yanks you right out of whatever state you were in.
It saves your life.
Yep. Senator Rob Portman, Republican of Ohio, who has fought for better access to treatment, said he was pleased with the president's decision. Quote, "We must continue to fully fund important programs on prevention, treatment, and recovery," unquote. On Twitter, former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, who serves on the bipartisan opioid commission, said the announcement would, quote, "empower Congress and the administration to take bold steps to fund desperately needed treatment and prevention efforts."
Now, I wonder if this new power that they would have, would this mean that they could just wind up bypassing the regular budget? Would this need to be added to a budget? Like how exactly does, where does this funding come from? Just, we sign off, it's a national emergency, and, because U.S. code such and so says this, automatically, this many billions of dollars wind up getting added.
I could be completely wrong, but my understanding of it is from the emergency management, emergency preparedness, and response side of this is Congress always earmarks billions of dollars, which it then takes from all of us in taxes, and it earmarks that for emergencies. And they can probably take some that was, earmarked for hurricanes, and we've had a really slow hurricane season.
Right.
And maybe they can divert it over there. Don't ask anyone.
Right, but what happens when the, contingency fund, if you will, winds up running dry? Because they just like pulling stuff out. Oh, well, we've not used this a lot. Let's pull some money out.
They just print more, Darryl. That's why we have a Federal Reserve.
Right, and that's my question here of does this, new empowerment just allow them to bypass the regular congressional process for spending money?
No, there are billions of dollars in our federal budget that never get spent year after year, yet we are taxed for them year after year. So things like this, when we have money set aside for emergency response and things like that, if it doesn't get spent, that doesn't mean that, okay, that money's still sitting there, we'll use it, we'll do it next year. They're just going to tax you for it again. Right. That's how this stuff works. It's a revolving door. To continue on here, it's not often that a public health emergency is declared for something other than a natural disaster. The Department of Health and Human Services declared one in Puerto Rico last year after more than 10,000 Zika cases were reported. Before that, the last emergency declaration unrelated to a natural disaster was in the 2009-2010 flu season, when there was a widespread concern over a potential pandemic, which never happened.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. Are they just going to wind up spending money to arrest people? Or will they actually solve a problem? This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
Have you wanted to get into Bitcoin mining but don't want to deal with the hassle and frustration of operating the mining hardware? Let pool.bitcoin.com handle it for you like I did. For an investment of as low as $129, you can have a lifetime mining contract and support the Bitcoin network. If you already have mining equipment, you're invited to join pool.bitcoin.com. It's the most profitable pool for miners, paying 120% of the block reward. That's pool.bitcoin.com.
Do you want to help build a better financial system for everyone? Join Dash. Dash is Digital Cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy. Fees are low and transactions are confirmed instantly. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Dash is set up to succeed where other platforms have failed. Give it a try. Dash.org. Help people take control over their financial future today. Find out more at Dash.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, August 10th, 2017. Silver's trading at $17.15 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,282 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,410. Antiwar.com reports Israeli officials and other diplomats familiar with the situation are finally detailing the circumstances regarding the lead-up to the southern Syria ceasefire agreement reached between the U.S. and Russia, revealing secret talks were held in Amman and in an unnamed European capital city about the plan beforehand. Israeli officials were involved in the talks and, unsurprisingly, given their public position since the ceasefire was announced, made clear they were unconditionally opposed to the ceasefire agreement and objected to the creation of safe zones to limit combat in the areas. The reason for Israel's opposition to the ceasefire similarly appears to have been exactly what they've complained about since, that they believe any calm in Syria necessarily benefits Iran, and that anything that might conceivably move towards ending the Syria war must hand Iran some sort of specific defeat. It is the Iran-centric view of the Syrian conflict, despite Iran having a fairly limited involvement in it, which has led Israeli military officials to say that they don't want the Islamic State to lose in Syria, and since the announcement of the ceasefire that they are prepared to join conflict simply to ensure that Iran, by which they mean Shiite government, doesn't win. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the United States on Wednesday introduced new sanctions on 8 new Venezuelan officials, including Aiden Coramato Chavez Frias, the brother of late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. The U.S. Treasury announced the sanctions were against those involved in organizing or supporting the country's new Constituent Assembly, which granted President Nicolas Maduro virtually unlimited powers. The 545-member legislative body was elected on July 30th. It has the power to rewrite the Constitution and dissolve the country's elected parliament, the opposition-controlled National Assembly. On July 31st, the United States levied sanctions against Maduro, freezing all of his assets subject to U.S. jurisdiction. The Treasury Department on Wednesday said the Constituent Assembly was elected through an undemocratic process instigated by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government to subvert the will of the Venezuelan people. The statement by the Treasury Department also decried the Assembly's first action, which was to oust Attorney General Luisa Marvelia Ortega Diaz. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said President Maduro swore in this illegitimate Constituent Assembly to further entrench his dictatorship and continues to tighten his grip on the country. This regime's disregard for the will of the Venezuelan people is unacceptable, and the United States will stand with them in opposition to tyranny until Venezuela is restored to a peaceful and prosperous democracy. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the Journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports United Airlines has apologized to the owners of a dog who died in an aircraft cargo hold during a flight from Houston to San Francisco, the latest death of an animal under the airline's care. ABC News reported that the Rasmussen family's 5-year-old King Charles Spaniel, Lulu, was aboard the United plane on Sunday when it was delayed on the tarmac for 2 hours before taking off. The family said the dog had been cleared to fly by a veterinarian days before the flight and died in the cargo hold. United said in a statement, "We are sorry to learn of Lulu's passing and have reached out to our customers to offer our condolences and assistance. We are conducting a thorough review of the incident." The U.S. Department of Transportation data showed that United had 9 of the 26 deaths of animals reported last year during air transport, more than any other airline. United's handling of animals drew headlines this spring when a giant rabbit named Simon died during a trip from Britain to the Iowa State Fair. Investors in that animal have sued United, claiming its workers were responsible for its death. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Department of Health and Human Services has issued a new ban preventing the nation's saunas from any further use of tanning salons. The ruling was made after a study found that saunas are exposed to roughly 5,000 times more UV radiation each year than the average American.
They are at a very high risk of developing melanoma and orangey leathery skin. Saunas, you are tan enough.
The nation's saunas have reacted negatively to the ban.
I don't care what the government says. I just won $15 in scratches, so I'm getting a freaking tan. This sucks.
None of us have time for this. We've got Tammys at home to raise.
In an Onion News Network poll of saunas across the country, more than 30% argued that a pale complexion will negatively affect the size of their tips at Ruby Tuesdays. And more than half have said that their boyfriends Dennis like them tan. And he's the father of their second child, so they want him to stick around.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, kicking off hour number 2. Your calls and thoughts. Welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we spent a good bit of the first hour talking about Donald Trump's national emergency declaration, about the opioid crisis, what that means. Of course, if you want to talk about it, you can. Call in 855-450-FREE. But let's change gears to Venezuela. And, I have been fascinated with Venezuela for a while, and I think Ian, who's generally sitting in this chair, he is as well, and we generally cover when new interesting things are happening in Venezuela, and it seems like those are happening almost all the time now. Story from FEE, which is the Foundation for Economic Education, reports the last couple of weeks have been difficult for the already beleaguered people of Venezuela, as their socialist president, Nicolas Maduro, has moved closer to full dictatorial control of the country. In response, the Trump administration has reportedly been considering levying a crippling sanction against the importation of Venezuela's #1 export, oil. Now, there was an article from, I believe, antiwar.com a couple days ago about several Venezuelans who were individually listed as having sanctions imposed against them,
right,
including, I believe, a brother of former President Hugo Chavez. The article here from FEE continues, what Maduro has done in Venezuela can reasonably be called a coup. A dismantling of the last vestiges of restraints on his power under that nation's constitution. Taking a page out of his mentor Hugo Chavez's book, he summoned a national referendum with the goal of neutering the country's legislative body, which is controlled by lawmakers opposed to his rule. Knowing that opposition vote would be met with violence and that the vote was being rigged, Venezuelans protested by staying home. In reality, Maduro, like Chavez before him, had relatively few limits on his power already, but like a modern Augustus Caesar, Chavez tried to maintain a cloak of legitimacy, leaving a shell of Venezuela's constitution intact. Maduro, having inherited the worst of the economic catastrophe wrought by Chavismo, has responded by doubling down on socialist economic policies enforced by an increasingly blatant totalitarian police state.
See, it's funny how those two things go hand in hand. And when we see socialism take root around the world, the carrot to the people is, look, we're going to provide for you. It's going to be the warm, swaddling arms of government who's going to solve all your problems.
Yes, those warm, swaddling arms of government that are the reason that Venezuelans are standing in lines for about 40 hours per month. And then when they get into the store,
right,
they're allowed to buy 2 of what the store has.
Right.
They don't know what the store is going to have, and they don't know if they're going to need what the store has, but when they get in there, they're allowed to buy 2.
So here's the thing I always want to ask people that support socialism without actually knowing.
You can't go to the store every day. You have specific days that you get to go to the store based on your state ID number.
Right. So here we have this occurring in Venezuela on the northern coast of South America.
Yep.
But this sounds exactly like what happened in the Soviet Union, and it sounds exactly like what happened in Cuba. All these different countries, it's not that they have a playbook. It's not that they say, okay, first we're going to introduce the socialist policies, then the people are going to get upset because we have to ration because socialist economic policies don't work, and then we're going to roll out the police. This is just the natural progression of what Marxist socialism does. These are inevitable. The playbook was written over 100 years ago in the Communist Manifesto. This is how it works. This is how it happens. It's not just chance.
Right. And, going away from this article a little bit to sort of explain some of the things that have happened recently in Venezuela, there were toy stores that wound up having their merchandise seized and then just redistributed around Christmas time because Nicolas Maduro wanted to be Santa Claus.
Right.
Because, one, nobody could afford to buy the toys because, the inflation in Venezuela is absolutely horrible. The toy store owner was trying to actually, charge a price consistent with what he paid, which, kept going up because inflation, and he was accused of price gouging. And, well, all of these things now belong to us.
Right.
There have been other industries that the Maduro government has just wound up seizing outright and saying these things are now being controlled by the Venezuelan government. Factories have been seized by the Venezuelan government, where the factory owners have said, we don't have the money to either buy raw product or raw supplies to make products,
raw materials,
or we don't have money to pay our workers, or in a lot of cases, both. And Maduro comes in and says, doesn't matter, you can't shut down.
Right. And you're not allowed to leave your job, and we will give you some amount of food. We'll try to keep you alive, but it may or may not work. But we're going to try to keep you alive because we need people to work in the factories.
And also need people to work in the field. So some people have been yanked out of the factories and told to go work in the fields.
Of course.
And, well, even though Venezuela, look at it on a map, it's in that tropical zone. Food should be growing there plentifully.
Right, and sitting on some of the largest stocks of oil in the world. This drives me nuts. And I know there's somebody listening here who likes Bernie Sanders. And from a personal point of view, I find him to be kind of a witty, charming guy. But I'm telling you, Socialism kills people. And I don't say that lightly. Socialism has killed somewhere between 80 and 100 million people during the 20th century. The political system of socialism is a death sentence. And we report on Venezuela like this is news. All we're doing is repeating history. And my heart goes out to everyone down there who is suffering under this failed system. They need to rise up. They need to stand up against this government, and they need to overthrow them.
There was a story not too terribly long ago, I forget exactly what the date on it was, where it talked about the Maduro diet. And that's a slang term given to the fact that 75% of the population of Venezuela lost an average of 19 pounds.
Yeah.
Think about that for a moment. Not the average person in Venezuela lost 19 pounds. No. 75% of the people lost an average of 19 pounds.
Right. So somebody lost 50. Somebody put on a couple. Not fair.
Nicolas Maduro is probably the guy that put on a couple.
Right.
The article here continues. Polls clearly show that a majority of Venezuelans would eagerly vote out Maduro if a legitimate election was held. But the chances that next year's scheduled presidential election will occur seem increasingly remote. Oh, and not to mention that even if the election does occur, it wouldn't be a fair, legitimate election because all of the opposition leaders have been barred from running for president of Venezuela.
Of course. And again, here's that trap that socialism captures people into. The guy, let's just, whoever runs, if anyone is allowed to run against Maduro, will really have nothing to say other than, I'll give you even better socialist programs. There may be an illusion of a choice if Maduro's had enough. He may bring in a ringer just to say, you know what, let's put the country back on its ground. I'll be the president pro tem or whatever, and let somebody else run it. Who knows?
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur. The vet wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work. So I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years.
PD stopped eating. All his hair fell out.
Itching, licking, missing fur.
DINOVITE.com. 859-428-1000.
And then it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on. It was awesome.
Dinovite is nutrition.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days. I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
BuySellMakeOffer.com is better than ever. I'm Pat Matthews here to tell you that BuySellMakeOffer.com, the revolutionary site for buying and selling anything and everything, just upped the ante. Go right now to BuySellMakeOffer.com and click the Sign Me Up button. When you do, you'll get the first month free, and then it's just $9.95 a month to be a member forever. And you don't need a credit card for the initial setup. Create your own store on the site and sell whatever you want, as long as it's legal, however you want, and sell an unlimited number of items. Create your own intro video to describe what your store is all about. Use Skype to see who you're buying from or selling to. Sell unused household items, as well as antiques, cars, televisions, collectibles, real estate. The possibilities are unlimited. Use social networks to promote your store right from our site. Remember, there are never any fees no matter how much you sell. Become a member today. I'm a member. Get all your friends to sign up too. This could become a great business for you. Sell whatever you want for the first 30 days free at BuySellMakeOffer.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
top 6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love. But make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we're talking about Venezuela, the new sanctions against Venezuela, how Venezuela wound up getting to the point they're at. And we'll get back to that. But if you want to help build a better financial system for everyone, consider joining Dash. Dash is digital cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast, private, and easy. The fees are low, and transactions are they're very fast and oftentimes can be confirmed instantly. You can pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime for just pennies. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and help make governance decisions. Anyone can invest in Dash and earn rewards for helping run the network. Join Dash and help create a better financial system for everyone. Take back control over your financial future today. Find out more at dash.org. There's a lot of momentum behind Dash, so go to dash.org and find out why. Talking about the situation in Venezuela and how Nicolas Maduro, who already did not really have very many limits to his power, decided that he wanted even more power, so he put up this vote for creating what's called a constituent assembly that would have the power to rewrite the country's constitution and basically solidify him as something akin to a dictator. Article from the Foundation for Economic Education has the story. They say that polls clearly show that a large majority of Venezuelans would eagerly vote out Maduro if a legitimate election was held. But now it seems as though the election scheduled for next year might not even happen. Besides shutting down electoral means of resistance, Maduro has imprisoned leading opposition figures and has made it dangerous to be a known critic of the government. And as was mentioned, but not in this article, part of the punishments for opposition leaders is that they're prohibited from running for president of Venezuela. With help from Cuba, Venezuela's social media feeds are monitored for anti-government content. Roving gangs of armed thugs known as colectivos inflict brutal beatings and public humiliations on people who do not profess adequate loyalty to the socialist revolution.
Right.
Sounds almost akin to something that I would not be surprised if happened in the U.S. one day. You don't love America sufficiently, I'm going to give you a butt whooping.
Well, you get the threats all the time, even if you happen to run a gym down in Georgia.
Any hope that the police and military apparatus in Venezuela might obey the will of the people seems increasingly far-fetched for now, as shortages of food and most basic goods continues to afflict average Venezuelans. The government uses its control over the money supply to ensure that the military and its most loyal citizens live better than most. Enter potential sanctions from the United States government and perhaps the European Union and others.
Oh, that'll help.
Currently, the U.S. has imposed sanctions on individuals within Venezuela, those deemed the most corrupt and most responsible for violations of their citizens' liberty. As Cato Institute scholar Juan Carlos Hidalgo points out, Venezuela's leadership is corrupt on a mind-blowing scale. From drug trafficking to straight-up embezzlement of state-run industries, the international community freezing more and more of these individual funds would at least bring some pain to Venezuela's oppressors. But there's also been discussion of going straight for the jugular, placing sanctions on imports of Venezuelan oil.
See, here's what happens, and it happens over and over and over. The people in the United States often support these sanctions. You know, let's say it's Iran. You know, Iran, they're trying to get a nuclear program, so what we need to do is impose these crippling sanctions on Iran, and we have to get all our friends around the world to do the same thing.
Well, there's just a flawed premise there. Iran is not trying to get a nuclear program to make a weapon, which is the popular narrative that a lot of people believe.
Well, I don't know that they're not.
Well, based on the amount that they're trying to refine the plutonium, they're trying to refine it to medical use, not even nuclear energy use, which requires even more refining, and it requires even more refining than that to make a nuclear weapon.
There are bad people everywhere in the world. I don't know what the Iranians' true intents are, so I'm just not going to take a side on that. But what I'm saying is that the story that gets told to the American people is they are building the bomb. They are 10 years. They're 5 years out from building the bomb. So what we have to do is impose these crippling sanctions on this country.
And that's been the story for basically my entire life.
Sure.
And
I'm just using
the mainstream media very rarely, if ever, reports on the fact that the Iranian government has passed every inspection that's ever happened of their nuclear program to make sure that they're not trying to do something in violation of one of the many treaties to which they're a party.
You're getting into the weeds on something I threw out as an example. So I could have easily said
I'm just trying to point out that it's a flawed premise to begin with.
Okay. And these things...
And most of the things are based... Almost every sanction that the U.S. imposes on some country is based on a flawed premise.
Sure. It's economic warfare that has more to do with corporations than it has to do with anything else. But here's the problem. It's not punishing the people that are in charge, because guess what? They control everything. They control the means of production. We talked about them seizing the factories. They control the means of money. They control the printing presses. They control whatever gold reserves they actually have. They control the oil industry. So whatever oil is going out of there, the profits are going to the government first and people for a few grains of rice second. When you impose economic sanctions, the fat cats at the top are not going to be hurt by them. They're not going to let themselves get hurt by them. They will pass the pain down to the people. So the imposition of economic sanctions is a cruel... It is, I'm trying to look for the right word.
It's basically an act of warfare.
But it's not. In an act of warfare, it's one government generally attacking another government. In an economic move like that, it is nothing more than the government of one country attacking the poorest people of another. That's different. And that's
Okay,
what people
it's
don't
different,
realize.
But Chris, and I know you watch Game of Thrones because we were discussing this earlier. In the one, I forget, season 5, season 6, where the Lannister army had the twins surrounded to prevent any sort of imports of grain. That was an act of war.
Sure.
Everybody recognizes it in a TV show that's an act of war. But for some reason, when the United States government imposes sanctions,
or
which
any
is
other
basically
government,
laying siege, preventing food from coming in, that is an act of war. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
If you had purchased $100 of Bitcoin in 2010, today you'd have $2,600,000. While that sinks in, you now have a huge cryptocurrency opportunity at below market price at a guaranteed 10 cents per coin. ProCoin, a coin publicly traded on the open market, easily converted to cash, available in 60 countries, and ProCoin is the only cryptocurrency offering coin-back rewards for consumers and merchants. Take action by August 31st at procoincurrency.net. That's procoincurrency.net. Deadline for 10-cent guarantee is August 31st. Welcome aboard. Your new science fiction adventure is ready to launch. Discover an amazing journey at galaxyquestbooks.com. Start a new sci-fi adventure with the Guardian series, a classic sci-fi mystery that starts 500 years in the future. From author D. Arthur Gussner. Series available from Barnes & Noble or Amazon as paperback or ebooks. galaxyquestbooks.com, where the adventure begins.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we've been talking about Venezuela, the possibility of sanctions being imposed on not just some of the supposed bad guys, and I'm not going to say that they're good guys, but we don't know necessarily the identities of everybody. So it's always possible that someone that's not actually a bad guy winds up being added to the list. It's like the no-fly list.
Sure.
To where it's supposed to be all these bad guys, right? But then you hear stories about, like 5-year-olds that are on the no-fly list.
Right. But when we talk about economic sanctions against a country, we are declaring it against everything.
Well, the current sanctions are just against individuals.
Exactly.
There's discussion about the possibility of sanctions against the entire country of Venezuela.
Well, and particularly against the oil industry, which is where their only influx of money is coming from. And what I'm saying is that is not going to hurt the Venezuelan government. It's not going to hurt these horrible leaders. It is going to kill more Venezuelan poor people that are starving already.
We'll get back into the story, plus your calls and thoughts. We're actually going to the phones. We've got Mike calling in from Grafton, Wisconsin, listening to WRRD in Milwaukee. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Gentlemen, I just started listening to you a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think you're of the conservative ilk. So I was very proud and pleased to hear you give an objective criticism of socialism and its failures. I think that was very noble and worthy of you.
Yes, we are libertarians. So there are things that, Mike, if you're a conservative, I'm not going to jump to that conclusion, but since you mentioned conservative, there are things that we will agree with you on, and there are things that we will disagree with you on. There are things that we will agree with some of the people, quote unquote, on the left on. Specifically, civil liberty sorts of things, and there are things that we disagree with people on the left about, largely economics.
Anymore, it's getting harder to find those things I agree with either side on, but neither here nor there.
Well, I certainly, I think you would agree that conservatives and libertarians have far more in common than libertarians and leftists. Libertarians and liberals, perhaps, but not leftists. That being said, coming to the issue of sanctions, yes, I would agree. Certainly, economic sanctions hurt the people more, perhaps, than they do the government. On the other hand, certainly the Trump administration or any administration cannot publicize the behind-the-scenes efforts that they make to cooperate, to endorse the economic sanctions, such as empowering the people supplying weapons, trying to have other means of empowering the people to overthrow the government. That's the purpose of sanctions. Clearly, unless we help out behind the scenes, whether it be by weapons in addition to sanctions, the poor Venezuelans are doomed to suffer under socialism.
Sure. My biggest concern when we talk about sanctions and trying to overthrow a horrible regime is that by putting sanctions in place, then we often make the people that should be rising up too weak to fight. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if you are going to be successful in overthrowing a government that still controls the military, you have to have strength. And unfortunately, too often in these socialist experiments of death, this is what ends up happening. We try the economic path. Go ahead.
I guess we just have to see how complete the Trump administration is in trying to enable the people to overthrow the government in addition to the economic sanctions.
Right.
But coming back to the issue of socialism and its merits and faults, I would see if you would agree that the two faults of socialism are, number one, it doesn't recognize that human beings are basically not good. Capitalism at least harnesses their profit motive, needs to be regulated. And second, that the problem with socialism is that the people who rise to the top tend not to be the most altruistic folks in the world. I mean, Stalin, Lenin, not exactly the kind of people you want for your neighbors here in central Wisconsin.
Well, there's something to be said on the left and the right about those who rise to the top and seek power.
But even those who are just given power, that don't even seek power, wind up being corrupted. I'm going to point you, Mike,
to some degree.
If you are not familiar with the Stanford prison experiment, I would encourage you to look into that a little bit more. I'll briefly summarize. Basically, it was an experiment done at Stanford University back in the 70s where a college professor decided he wanted to have a mock jail. There were 24 students that were chosen to wind up being part of this experiment. 12 of them were given the role of inmate. 12 of them were given the role of prison guard. And the people that were randomly assigned the prison guard roles wound up becoming corrupt. The experiment was supposed to have lasted 2 weeks. It wound up being shut down in 6 days.
Yes, and certainly those experiments built on the Millikan experiments at Yale, where supposedly the experimental subjects continued to deliver shocks beyond the time at which
very much so.
Because the guy in the lab coat said the experiment must continue. Mike, thank you.
One more thing real quickly. Yeah, you talked a little bit about libertarians and conservatives and things like that. I do believe that in certain aspects, we libertarians probably have a lot more in common, a lot more we could agree upon. My biggest frustration, this is coming from somebody who spent 30 years or so as an active member in the Republican Party. The conservatism seems to have faded. I mean, when we had the rise of the neoconservatives and more of the global look on what America's role needs to be, and I really got tired of Republicans and self-proclaimed conservatives talk about why we need all these social programs and how I will not touch Social Security, etc. You know what I mean? That's been my frustration.
I do, and you sound like a conservative, my friend.
Mike, thank you for the call. Let's go to James calling in from Dover, New Hampshire. James, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, Darryl and Chris. Yeah, so I wanted to call in because, Mark and Ian were talking the other night about Peter Schiff and some of his criticisms of Bitcoin, and I was looking more closely into actually gold and silver and precious metals in general as a storage of wealth, and trying to compare them to cryptocurrencies, or at least, I mean, it's obviously hard to think about cryptocurrencies as a storage of wealth given how new they are, I suppose. But I think gold and silver get an overblown reputation when it comes to being a good storage of wealth. And if you just look at a 500-year chart of their prices adjusted for inflation, I think you'll see that they're a pretty bad investment compared to basically anything else you can even realistically invest in. They basically simply maintained their value against the dollar for inflation purposes, and I just don't think that that's really where you want to be, on a 100-year basis, to have 20% more wealth after 100 years. A terrible investment. Really only the US
I seriously doubt that I'll be alive in 100 years. That would put me at 139.
You can look at any of these charts. Look at the last 20 years.
Right, and
and you'll do poorly too.
But based on what you're saying, that gold and silver basically keep up with inflation. That's all I've ever really heard about gold and silver. It's a safe way to basically make sure that whatever wealth you have isn't going to depreciate.
It's supposedly that, but the caller's exactly right, James. I mean, I remember buying silver in the early 2010, 2011, 35 bucks an ounce. And you see all these ads on TV about silver is going to be the next one, $500 an ounce. No, the stuff I bought for $35 is now worth $15, $17. Where's that? $17.15 when I recorded the news this morning. Right. So if we look at any slice of time, when we talk about any investment, you can say, well, look how much this grew, or you could also say, look how much this
that's
lost.
Why looking at the long term is so valuable, right? So
right.
When you
we'll hold you over.
The story that you hear is that gold and silver are going to be one of the best ways to store your money, whereas, even just, certainly if you invest
Hold on, James. We'll bring you back. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you want to help build a better financial system for everyone? Join Dash. Dash is Digital Cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy, fees are low, and transactions are confirmed instantly. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Dash is set up to succeed where other platforms have failed. Give it a try at dash.org. Help people take control over their financial future today. Find out more at dash.org.
I've discovered the next big thing on the internet. Symbi.com is a symbiotic economy with its own currency where people trade services virtually and locally. Forget the old economy. This is your economy. Symbi.com is slick to use and is backed by the same people that helped launch Reddit and Airbnb. I'm not kidding when I say this is the next big thing. Trust me. Go get an account at Symbi.com. Take a look around and post your services. Symbi, SIMBI.com.
Heart disease is on the rise. Clogged arteries, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol levels may not be fully detected by you, but the symptoms are there. Loss of energy, blood sugar spikes and drops, poor circulation, and irregular heartbeat are just a few of these that can alert you that something is wrong. Hear how Heart and Body Extract is making a difference in thousands of people's lives across America.
My blood pressure has normalized. My diabetes has totally improved.
Everyone is telling me now how much healthier I look, and I'm telling everyone how much healthier I feel. I recommend Heart and Body Extract to everyone.
Anybody over 40 in the North American continent should be using this product as a preventative to keep their cardiovascular system healthy.
Order your 2-month supply today by calling 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. Or order online, hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract, 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu. 641-793-9660.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. 855 450 That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. Get help buying Bitcoin or choosing a Bitcoin wallet, read the latest news, or even engage with the community in the Bitcoin forum. You can even find places to spend your Bitcoin, and you can play games online with the cryptocurrency. The source for all of your Bitcoin needs and news, Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. com. Going back to the phones, we've got James calling in from Dover, New Hampshire. And James, I'm trying to figure out here what sort of the point was that you were trying to make. You were saying that gold and silver basically just keep up with inflation, and that doesn't really make them a good store of value. Is that a safe summarization of your statement?
James, you there?
It's more considering them an investment, right? So, like, if you look over the course of the last 100 years or 50 or 20, or, certainly if you go back even further than that, it would be hard to do much worse on an investment level than gold and silver, unless you specifically own fiat currency. That would be the very worst investment you could have made.
Sure.
But other than like speculating on a single individual risky stock or something like that, it's really hard actually on that sort of time frame to break even on an investment. And that makes gold and silver, in my mind, just very inferior in terms of being a storage of wealth, or certainly a grower of wealth compared to cryptocurrency. I think cryptocurrency does a lot of what gold and silver purports to do, except for it just does it better. So I guess, I'm saying this as someone, by the way, who has a very significant portion of my wealth in precious metals based on things I used to believe, and I'm just changing my mind. So I figured I'd call and see if anyone could argue me out of this position, or if they can't, make a PSA to other people who are considering ways to store their wealth.
Well, for me, I still hold certainly some gold and silver and things like that. I also still have some stocks and bonds and things like that.
Sure.
Cryptocurrency, to me, it is so young. I am a big believer in crypto technology, and it's not just Bitcoin or Ethereum or watching what this price is doing or that price are doing. What I'm most interested in are the companies that are coming up with creative, innovative ways to solve problems, and they're doing it through blockchain or decentralized technologies, because some of them are past blockchain. Those, to me, hold the appeal of a stock in a company that is doing something really innovative that may be very profitable later on. So I look at a lot of cryptocurrencies like I'm looking at stocks. I'm looking at the companies themselves. I'm seeing where they're at in their development. I'm trying to understand where they intend to go and whether this seems viable. To me, that's the only way, if you're looking at cryptocurrencies as an investment, the only thing we should really be doing. You can chase the charts all day long and you'll make some short-term gains. I think there's going to be a lot of people that get lucky and make a lot of money off of a couple plays in this, and there are going to be a whole lot of people that end up losing money. That's just my gut feeling.
I think that's probably right, but I think you can also approach it in the same way you would investing in, say, the stock market. I think consensus among reasonable analysts would suggest you do something like, buy a basket of index funds that gives you a wide enough swath of the market so you don't expose yourself to untoward risk, right? And I think you can approach cryptocurrency investment the same way. And I certainly have.
I do.
Learned about cryptocurrency from Free Talk Live, 7 years ago or whatever. And obviously there's some recency bias in how that's turned out for me, but I don't think you have to pick a winner. I think you can buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and Dash and Monero and whatever else you want to buy, and it'd be tough to miss the winner completely, right? And unless cryptocurrency is simply a fad, that's one premise that someone could hold, that this will eventually just go away. It's very hard to imagine. Currently, I think less than $100 billion market cap for cryptocurrency worldwide. It's just really hard to imagine that it's still going to be 1/6 of 1% of the world's conservative estimate of the world's liquid wealth.
Right. And I don't disagree, and I use CoinCap.io to track all the different cryptos that I own, and I don't own a lot of anything because I made the brilliant decision of starting a small business, so that's where all my money is. But I do have a little bit of all kinds of different currencies that for some reason I found them compelling. For some reason I saw that, and basically what I've done is built probably the world's smallest mutual fund. But taking that approach to it, what I sacrifice in that is the big hit. Mutual funds are not known for the big wins and doing a huge return, but they're generally more stable and safer.
But if your point in putting money in whether it be gold, silver, cryptocurrency, if the point is to have it as a long-term investment, you do want diversification.
Sure.
And James, I think that was kind of the point, right?
Track record. My point is that diversifying into something with such a poor track record, whether it's the U.S. dollar or gold or silver, is like I just wonder about the opportunity cost. I mean, additionally, with gold and silver, there's this huge problem of not being able to buy or really sell at spot price, right? So, I mean, you can if you go to great lengths, but it's very hard to buy, like, say, I don't know, $50,000 worth of gold, period. It's very hard to store $50,000 worth of gold. Furthermore, and it's very hard to ship that much gold. And even if you do get that much gold, like, getting it at the actual spot price that you get listed somewhere is very difficult. To say you pay 5% over spot, well, the way compounding interest works is that's, again, if you buy at 5% over spot and sell for 5% over spot, you've basically eaten away at the 100-year return of gold.
Sure.
You know, so I don't know. I mean, maybe gold will become more valuable over time, but we also have the issue of not really knowing how much gold there is, which is not a problem you face in cryptocurrency if you invest in the right cryptocurrencies. There's just all sorts of numbers of problems that I think most people don't perceive, just because it's been basically true over time that gold has been a reasonable storage of wealth. But I think, again, if you look at those charts, especially if you go like 500-year charts, it's very hard to believe that those things will become more valuable over time, I guess is my point, as new things enter the marketplace to compete with it. So I guess, like, for people who are listening, who are viewing that as like the safest way to keep your wealth, I just totally disagree. So I just wanted to share that thought with y'all.
James, thank you for the call. And just to sort of reiterate a point that Chris made, you don't have a 50-year chart to look at for cryptocurrency, much less a 500 or a 5,000-year track record.
Or a 10. We don't even have a 10-year chart yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But I think it's exciting technology, and I'm very bullish on it. We're not going to talk about the story tonight, but if anybody feels in the Googling mood, you can Google the New York Times. The story.
I'll post the link up on the Facebook and the Twitter. That way people don't have to do a search for it.
Yeah. The name of the story is Grandpa Had a Pension, This Generation Has Cryptocurrency. And it's a pretty good read.
Let's go back to the phones. We've got Larry calling in from Utah listening to 540 AM. Larry, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them. First, on sanctions. You talk like everything that they sanction is just on the government that flows down to the people, and quite often that hasn't been true. For instance, both in Iran and in Russia, Obama, and I was not an Obama voter or friend, he sanctioned many individuals in both regimes. The Trump administration has sanctioned a number of people in the Russian regime, particularly those that are fairly high up and close friends of Putin.
Sure.
And when you go down to Venezuela, they just put sanctions on 10 of the most powerful people in Venezuela.
Right.
Along with
we did
the
mention,
oil.
Larry.
So the oil doesn't mean anything to anybody down there because they can't even get it shipped out in their own ships. They're not seaworthy.
Right.
At least they don't have the licenses to do it.
Larry,
so the ships are sitting in port.
Larry,
so that money doesn't do anything to the people at this point in time because they're not getting any money out of it.
And
so
Larry,
I
think your call was being screened. Larry, I think your call was being screened at the time because we did mention that current sanctions against people in Venezuela are just that, against individual people, but there's discussion about the United States government putting sanctions against the entire country of Venezuela, and that's where the speculation came in. So I think you missed part of the conversation, but we definitely did mention that individual people in Venezuela are being sanctioned. And again, just because you think you have the names right doesn't mean that there's not an innocent person with that same name. Again, I'll point to the no-fly list that's supposed to have, like the worst of humanity that's not allowed on airplanes in the United States, and then you see stories of some 5-year-old kid that has the same name.
I'm going to give an example. Alejandro Rodriguez owns a factory in Venezuela, and he is now being sanctioned by the U.S. government. Who does it hurt? We'll get back to that after this break.
It hurts his employees, which are people that live in Venezuela. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought about mining Bitcoin? Did the costs, constant equipment upgrades, and maintenance scare you off? Do you want to make Bitcoin every day in the same mining pool that Ian and I do? Pool.bitcoin.com. There's a 100% uptime guarantee. The website's easy to use, and you can calculate what you're going to make right there on the website at pool.bitcoin.com. Help steer Bitcoin towards the liberating currency that Satoshi Nakamoto meant it to be. I'm not just making money at pool.bitcoin.com. I'm doing activism while I sleep. Pool.bitcoin.com. What's more profitable, running your business or doing bookkeeping? Doing your business, of course, but you want to keep your books so that you can maximize your tax savings, right? What if I told you that there's a person that's a bookkeeper, accountant, and law school graduate that's also a hardcore libertarian?
My name is Melanie Johnson, and I hate the state. I will aggressively help you to minimize your tax exposure and maximize profits, all while staying within the law.
Melanie's your best choice for your taxes and bookkeeping needs. Go to tax.freetalklive.com and check out our website, tax.freetalklive.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, August 10th, 2017. Silver's trading at $17.15 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,282 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,410. Antiwar.com reports Israeli officials and other diplomats familiar with the situation are finally detailing the circumstances regarding the lead-up to the southern Syria ceasefire agreement reached between the U.S. and Russia, revealing secret talks were held in Amman and in an unnamed European capital city about the plan beforehand. Israeli officials were involved in the talks and, unsurprisingly, given their public position since the ceasefire was announced, made clear they were unconditionally opposed to the ceasefire agreement and objected to the creation of safe zones to limit combat in the areas. The reason for Israel's opposition to the ceasefire similarly appears to have been exactly what they've complained about since, that they believe any calm in Syria necessarily benefits Iran, and that anything that might conceivably move towards ending the Syria war must hand Iran some sort of specific defeat. It is the Iran-centric view of the Syrian conflict, despite Iran having a fairly limited involvement in it, which has led Israeli military officials to say that they don't want the Islamic State to lose in Syria, and since the announcement of the ceasefire that they are prepared to join conflict simply to ensure that Iran, by which they mean Shiite government, doesn't win. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the United States on Wednesday introduced new sanctions on 8 new Venezuelan officials, including Aiden Coramato Chavez Frias, the brother of late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. The U.S. Treasury announced the sanctions were against those involved in organizing or supporting the country's new Constituent Assembly, which granted President Nicolas Maduro virtually unlimited powers. The 545-member legislative body was elected on July 30th. It has the power to rewrite the Constitution and dissolve the country's country's elected parliament, the opposition-controlled National Assembly. On July 31st, the United States levied sanctions against Maduro, freezing all of his assets subject to U.S. jurisdiction. The Treasury Department on Wednesday said the Constituent Assembly was elected through an undemocratic process instigated by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government to subvert the will of the Venezuelan people. The statement by the Treasury Department also decried the Assembly's first action, which was to oust Attorney General Luisa Marvelia Ortega Diaz. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said President Maduro swore in this illegitimate Constituent Assembly to further entrench his dictatorship and continues to tighten his grip on the country. This regime's disregard for the will of the Venezuelan people is unacceptable, and the United States will stand with them in opposition to tyranny until Venezuela is restored to a peaceful and prosperous democracy. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the Journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports United Airlines has apologized to the owners of a dog who died in an aircraft cargo hold during a flight from Houston to San Francisco, the latest death of an animal under the airline's care. ABC News reported that the Rasmussen family's 5-year-old King Charles Spaniel, Lulu, was aboard the United plane on Sunday when it was delayed on the tarmac for 2 hours before taking off. The family said the dog had been cleared to fly by a veterinarian days before the flight and died in the cargo hold. United said in a statement, "We are sorry to learn of Lulu's passing and have reached out to our customers to offer our condolences and assistance. We are conducting a thorough review of the incident." The U.S. Department of Transportation data showed that United had 9 of the 26 deaths of animals reported last year during air transport, more than any other airline. United's handling of animals drew headlines this spring when a giant rabbit named Simon died during a trip from Britain to the Iowa State Fair. Investors in that animal have sued United, claiming its workers were responsible for its death. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
According to a report released this week, people who paint themselves silver and pretend to be statues earn, on average, $10 million per year. The Onion sat down with economist Mark Cosgrave to learn more about the money-making potential of this highly lucrative employment path.
There's no more profitable career at the moment. If you compare these positions to other high-paying jobs, say physicians or mechanical engineers, you'll find that those individuals who have outfitted themselves with silver-painted boxes and can move their limbs stiffly as if they were a robot are making literally hundreds of times as much. At this point, I would say that the only job that offers anywhere near that kind of earning potential is dressing up like Batman and allowing people to pose for photos with you. And those guys who play paint buckets like drums have historically done well for themselves. But honestly, the recession hit these professions pretty hard, and a lot of them are only making something like $800,000 a year at this point. It's barely even worth their time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, kicking off hour number 3 in studio tonight. It's Darryl.
And now Heather.
And Chris.
Heather decided to join us. I thought she was actually going to just take the entire night off. Was her daughter's birthday, and she said, I might be late. And I said, just spend time with your daughter. And then she walks in during the top of the hour news.
But see, that's the thing is now I have an 8-year-old. So the older they get, the less time they want to spend with parents. And it's a lot cooler to spend it with their friends. So we just spent a couple hours bowling. And now I'm here with my Free Talk Live listeners.
Oh, no, and I appreciate you bringing in a slice of birthday cake for Darryl and I.
It's actually really cool.
It's that invisible kind of
It must be that invisible cake. That must mean it's fat. It's fat-free, too. So.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We spent most of the second hour, or a good bit of the second hour, talking about Venezuela and the possibility of sanctions, not just on certain individuals in that country, but sanctions being imposed against the entire government of Venezuela and presumably also against businesses in Venezuela. We'll get into that, but first, your calls. We've got Paul calling in from Santa Cruz, listening via YouTube. Paul, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, guys, I know the secret to saving Venezuela's economy.
What's that?
You've heard of the South Beach diet? They need to invent the Caracas diet. They all lost 19 pounds, and they could probably publish a best-selling book and make a lot of money off of it.
Yeah,
Just don't anybody tell Maduro about it. He's going to want in on the action.
They call it the Maduro diet. And,
really? Somebody already beat me to it.
And the book's already out. It's The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx.
All right, there we go. But I was actually calling. I have a hypothetical question about the non-aggression principle. When I was a kid, I saw the movie 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with Kirk Douglas.
Right.
And at the end, they're escaping Captain Nemo's secret lair, and somebody pushed the self-destruct button, like in Spaceballs, and they're all leaving, and the scientist guy's like, oh, I have to go back in for my journal, my notes. I have to get all my scientific information. And Kirk Douglas is like, this place is going to blow any second, Doc. And the doc, he turns around like he's going to go. Kirk Douglas grabs him, punches him in the face, knocks him out, picks him up, takes him on the boat, and they escape to safety. And sure enough, the place blows up a couple seconds later. So Kirk Douglas punching this guy in the face and carrying him out of there, was that a violation of the non-aggression principle?
Absolutely. Are there flaws in the non-aggression principle, though? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I struggle with the non-aggression principle probably on a weekly basis where I want to punch people in the face. I mean,
well,
that's just me being a human.
Want to punch them in the face.
The scenario here, the question isn't, is punching a scientist a violation of the principle of non-aggression?
Yeah,
the question
he punched him
is,
to save him.
Is saving someone's life when they are trying to sacrifice their life a violation of the non-aggression principle?
What is that saying? I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been kind of puzzling over it because this is the argument for drug laws and stuff, but I've had good friends that I care about get drunk and start acting violent and crazy and belligerent, and I've had to grab people. I never had to punch anybody or beat anybody up, but is there a point, or you look at a parent maybe might want to use force if their kid is shooting heroin or something like that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I can't speak for the other two hosts, but I certainly think that there's a time and place where a little bit of tough love never hurt anybody. And in fact, maybe it helped. And, I think with the non-aggression principle, there's some people that worship it as much as like a religion to the point where, there's vegans coming into the Libertarian Party now that are like, oh, you can't eat meat because it's it's aggression against animals. And I'm like, well, plants are alive too. So, are you going to starve yourself? Because it's the only way you're going to be the saint you think you are.
So, Paul, let me give an example, a real life example, not one of these hypotheticals. I absolutely hate hypotheticals. So, real life example. When I was about 5 years old, I was walking down what I thought and what my dad thought was an abandoned set of railroad tracks. We thought that because there were trees growing, in the middle of the tracks. And apparently, this set of train tracks was not abandoned. I did not hear the train coming from behind me. My dad ran and tackled me off of the train tracks. Was that a violation of the non-aggression principle? Because he touched me in a manner that caused some kind of force, but it prevented me from being hit by a train.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's the whole question, because even if you weren't actually initiating force, you were taking an action that was going to endanger you.
Right.
And your father would obviously feel protective over you that, you're not himself, but you're his kid, and he's responsible for your safety. So in that case, he's preventing harm from coming from you, just like I know you don't like hypotheticals, but the scientist, he wasn't aggressing anybody against anybody, but he was going to harm himself, So Kirk Douglas took action to stop him, and I don't know. I've just been kind of thinking about it because it's like, well, maybe the guy, it's his life. And if he'd rather die than lose all his research, maybe he has the right to risk his life to go try to get it. You know?
Yeah.
So
I
don't
think
know. It was just food for thought, and I thought you guys would be the best people to call.
No, I've had similar thoughts to that, and I've actually compared some of those same thoughts with, I know a lot of anarchists, they hate quote unquote statists or whatever, but a lot of the statists quote unquote that I've sat down and actually talked with, they genuinely believe that the laws that they're enforcing are saving lives. Like these little old ladies that are supporting the war on drugs. They don't look at it as like, oh, they're telling you what you can and can't put in your body because they want to, take away your rights and stuff. They look at it as like, oh my God, there's people dying by having these laws. We think we're saving you from something that we're not. So the intentions are good behind the people supporting some laws sometimes. The same way with like global warming, you have, researchers and scientists that believe wholeheartedly in this. And they believe that, look, if people don't make these choices and these lifestyle changes, it's going to hurt everybody, including themselves. And so when they support laws that, ban certain things, in their mind, they think that they're doing the right thing. And so that's where I've always tried to be as humble and as empathetic as I can when discussing things with either Republicans, Democrats, whatever, because it's like I try to believe that people are coming from a good place, that we might disagree.
Yeah, I think most people are.
Yeah.
I do too. I think everybody in their own head kind of wants to be the hero. So even if they're on the, the communist, socialist, whatever side, even Sarah from Albuquerque, I mean, look at how crazy her positions are on things, but she thinks she's helping. She thinks she's protecting pedestrians at red lights. And, she genuinely thinks she's making the world a better place. And I think that's something people need to keep in the forefront of their minds when having discussions with people they disagree with.
Paul, thank you for the call.
With that said, though, that will not stop me from opposing some of these things that just absolutely violate people's rights. I mean, I have a right to do stupid things.
Yeah.
You can try to stop me from doing stupid things, but liberty is not about always making the right decisions. It's about having the freedom to try what you feel is best.
And what's the really old quote? The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Sure.
And, getting back here to Venezuela, the road to a totalitarian dictatorship is also paved with good intentions.
Oh, absolutely.
To where Nicolas Maduro, I'm convinced that Nicolas Maduro thinks he's doing what is best.
Or at least at one point did. He may be beyond that. This is sort of the evolution of Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. That's how I look at it.
Right, but, at some point, he self-preservation, you think that self-preservation is what's best.
Oh, sure.
So, he might only be in it for himself now, but, he's doing what, he thinks is best, might not be what he thinks is best for everybody that lives in Venezuela.
Right.
But he's doing what he thinks is best, and we'll get back into the story about if there are sanctions against the Venezuelan government, who winds up getting hurt? This is Free Talk Live, 855-450 free.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-957-9489. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-957-9489. That's 1-800-957-9489. 1-800-957-9489.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. Only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Imagine, if you will, a virtual world, a symbiotic economy with its own currency, where you can barter your services with others. Symbi.com is a marketplace of real people exchanging skills and services, from web developers, marketers, video production specialists, and teachers of all sorts, to gaming consulting or fitness coaching. Symbi.com is a vast world of people trading freely. Take my word for it, it's an adventure you can't afford to miss. Simbi.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And how would you like to save 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% or more on things that you were going to buy anyway? Well, you can do that when you go to saveatpurse.com. That's saveatpurse.com. You create an account, and then you go to Amazon. You put things in an Amazon wish list. You import the wish list into the account that you created there at saveatpurse.com, and then you select the discount that you want. If you're in a hurry, select a 5 or 10% discount. You want to wait a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean, a couple days, go up 15, 20, 25%. Saveatpurse.com. You fund the account with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, and then you save big time. Saveatpurse.com. Getting back into the article that we started in hour number 2 about Venezuela and the sanctions. Currently, the U.S. imposed sanctions are only on individuals in Venezuela. Those, according to FEE, that are, quote, deemed the most corrupt and most responsible for violations of their citizens' liberties. Now, Chris, you had posed the question of what if one of these individuals happens to own a manufacturing facility or own a a chain of businesses of some sort, and now they're not allowed to do business with anybody outside of the country.
Well,
what happens?
Yeah, let's say it's an import-export business, or he sells stuff outside of the country.
Yep.
And I will give the caveat that he also contributes heavily to Maduro.
Yep.
Okay, so that's why he's being sanctioned. If he gets hit directly with economic sanctions, he is going to probably, most likely, fall back on his vast wealth so he doesn't starve.
Yep.
But he's probably going to get rid of all his employees, or a large number of them, or say...
Assuming Maduro lets him get rid of his employees.
Sure. But let's say he's a crony. You know, he's one of those guys. He's on the inside path. The issue is, you know, will he suffer alongside of all the people that work for him? And I think the answer generally is no. He's going to act in his own self-interest. And if anybody's going to suffer, it's going to be the people that work for him.
Yes.
Now, that's a hypothetical, and I'm just throwing that out there.
This kind of reminds me of an article from the Ron Paul Institute I read earlier, where it actually kind of like, if you look at Venezuela, right, big government, socialist policies and stuff like that, and you have 50 United States that you can compare, like who's most like Venezuela as far as state governments in the United States? Well, Chicago, Illinois has one of the biggest governments, in the Ron Paul Institute had written some article where they said, I guess, like over, I think it was 3,000 millionaires are fleeing the state. And over the last 10 years, so many people with money have left the state of Chicago, which ends up leaving.
Chicago's a city, not a state.
I mean,
city,
Illinois.
right.
I meant Illinois.
Right.
Okay, you know what I meant, Darryl.
I get it.
Okay, but anyway, they left the state, which is leaving the state. Like when they take their businesses, they take their jobs with them. You know what I mean? So it's leaving people there. And I think maybe the same thing happened with Venezuela when the government starts, implementing these socialist policies. The people in those countries with money have the means and the ability to move and take their businesses with them. So they go to other countries.
Or hide their wealth elsewhere.
Or they hide it offshore accounts. We've all heard about that. And so what ends up happening is you end up having nothing but poor people and government employees.
The article here continues, but there's been discussion of going straight for the jugular and placing sanctions on imports of Venezuelan oil. Proponents of such a tactic say that depriving the Maduro regime of its number one cash cow might help further destabilize the regime and may cause the loyalty of some of the military to waver once their families, too, start to feel real hunger. But oil sanctions could also accelerate a humanitarian crisis into a full-blown famine.
Right.
Because Venezuela became so dependent upon its imports under Chavez, the country does not produce enough of many food staples to keep the population fed. The Venezuelan regime has an iron control of the monetary supply, and although it charges an obscene conversion rate to private companies, those companies have to be able to convert Bolivar Fuerte into U.S. dollars to bring in food. Thus, by drastically shrinking the supply of dollars coming in from oil exports, the sanctions could also directly cut off even more food to Venezuela. In addition, such sanctions would also provide fodder for the Maduro government to further delegitimize the opposition in the eyes of the regime's supporters by pinning the blame for the country's hardships on capitalism and American imperialist. Maduro already does this with reckless abandon, but if our sanctions worsen the already dire food situation, it will add further weight to his harangues. For decades, U.S. foreign policy has tended to lean on sanctions as a feel-good way to show that they're against the bad apples of the world, as tempting as it may be to try to simply starve the beast, to throttle Venezuela's tyrants as directly as possible. One hopes the administration will give long thought to who will actually bear the consequences, Maduro or the people of Venezuela.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. It is a feel-good measure. It's usually completely ineffective. It doesn't bring regimes crumbling to the ground. Even
right, if sanctions brought a regime to the ground, then Castro would not have been president of Cuba for more than like 6 months.
Right. And World War I would not have lasted past 1915 because the Allies, led by, and encouraged by the United States in 1914, began a complete blockade of Germany. That was in World War I. And what happened? The people starved. The military continued on and was able to wage war for 4 years. It didn't stop war. It didn't stop the bad people. Right. All it did was cause massive death in Germany.
And it also, again, it wound up allowing them to say, look, they are the ones causing. Right. It's not us.
It unified the people with the bad government against the boogeyman, which was in this
more
case
sanctions against
the
Venezuela
Allies.
Will just wind up causing people to support Maduro because he can legitimately point and say the Americans are doing this to us.
Right, and this gets repeated over and over throughout the world. We were talking about things that repeat in socialism. Well, in economic sanctions, it's the same thing. You can look at any country that's been hit, and Castro, it's solidified him with the people early on, and as time goes on, it just doesn't work as well as it did in the beginning. But the same thing continues to work in North Korea. We are going to strangle them economically. That's going to fix it. Take your pick. And you can look at all kinds of banana republics that we've tried to overthrow through economic sanctions, and others we've tried to sway their leadership. Doesn't work.
And yet more and by we, I mean the U.S. government, has imposed sanctions, plus given arms to the people, as a caller earlier suggested should be done in Venezuela. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Ralph, remember when you said you were going to start paying more attention to your health and now you're eating potato chips?
Just a few.
A few, okay, but you should be eating Superberry's Aronia berries.
Aronia what?
Aronia berries from superberries.com. They're known for having one of the highest levels of antioxidants that helps with overall wellness. Go to superberries.com/radio. And right now we get a free smoothie recipe book with our order. Plus we can save $4 at checkout.
Wow, look at all the benefits of these berries.
I know, Ralph, I know.
Choose health. Eat purple. Superberries.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Free Talk Live.
I said he was working for criminals.
You called him a criminal, did you not?
No, I don't
he
think
might
so.
have just been a sucker.
He said he was working for liars and thieves and criminals. Isn't that what we would call politicians?
They've been crooked since the dawn of time.
Agreed. So let me ask you, what is somebody who takes money to kill at the behest of liars and thieves? What do you call that person? Because a veteran is the one who called in and boxed us in the corner on this in the past. I don't have an answer to that question. That sounds very nice, at least. Do you?
Truthfully, no, I really don't have an answer to that question except to say he was doing his job.
Well, I mean, that's what they said at the Nuremberg trials, right? We were just following orders.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hi, this is Mark Edge of Free Talk Live. Michael W. Dean's book, User's Manual for the Human Experience, changed my life. In a culture that attempts to turn you into a compliant victim, this book gives you implementable steps on everything from how to be aware of your environment, walking down the street, to business, to how to handle a toxic person in your life. If you're a human, you need to read this book at least once. Go to Amazon and get the Kindle version, or paperback, or an audiobook of A User's Manual for the Human Experience. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And we spent a good bit of time discussing Venezuela, the sanctions that currently exist against some individuals in Venezuela, the possibility of expanding those sanctions, and, other countries that the U.S. government has sanctions against. We're going back to the phones, 855-450-FREE. And, of course, you can bring up whatever is on your mind. We've got Carl calling in from Guam. Carl, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, I was fortunate to discover the Pulse 93.3 a few months ago, and I've been listening regularly. And you guys have been added to the lineup a few weeks ago, and I don't really consider myself libertarian, but I found it really interesting listening to some of your ideas, and I enjoy, once in a while listening in and seeing what you guys are talking about. I know we're on Guam, and the big news nowadays is North Korea. So if you want to, bring that up and ask something about that, that would be fine. That's not primarily why I called. I called primarily for two things. One of them is what you recommend, as far as if you would recommend a core library, maybe 3 to 5 titles of libertarianism. I personally have read most of Economics in One Lesson, which is really excellent.
Right.
And I consider that pretty libertarian. I've read about half of The Law by Bastiat. I don't know if you'd consider that libertarian. I think
that is one of the books that I would put on like a must-read.
Yeah.
So if you were asking me to come up with 3 to 5 books, The Law is the first one that I would suggest. I would also suggest Healing Our World by Dr. Mary Ruwart. I personally am a fan of the writings of Emma Goldman. I realize not everybody is going to wind up, liking what she has to say. Chris, what are a couple of the books that you would wind up putting on that list?
Oh, God, there's so many. I'm a Murray Rothbard fan, so For a New Liberty by Murray Rothbard, or I would say Man, Economy, and State. For a New Liberty is more of a manifesto, I guess a libertarian manifesto, you could say. All his books are so good. History of Money and Banking in the United States is a great primer on monetary policy and how it can go horribly wrong. I'm trying to think of...
I would also add Thoreau's on civil disobedience.
That's a good one, too. Yep.
Now, I have a question for you guys.
Shoot.
Okay, so given, right, you walk into any library, there's like millions and millions of books. Have you ever read any books on like alternative, political systems and, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Other than the liberty, you know what I mean? Like generally the books libertarians have read have been all libertarian leaning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Written by libertarian authors. So it's within that same little echo chamber of ideas. And so have you ever, just for giggles, read the exact opposite, like went to the totally opposite corner to try to understand?
I've never read Mein Kampf, if that's the question.
Well, I did. I read that in high
But I don't
school.
believe that I need to read Mein Kampf to see that, National Socialism is a bad idea.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for, being more concrete in your own positions, like reading other viewpoints.
I think every libertarian should read Capitalism by Marx to really understand where he was coming from and what he intended, what his arguments are.
Right, but the question here was, if you were giving people intro to libertarianism books,
sure,
you're not going to give them the complete opposite of libertarianism.
No, but she had
in that intro to libertarianism.
Okay, I guess, see, I'm more of like what I would call like a floater in the movement. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just one of those people that I just want to soak up information and go and try to like cause the least damage I can wherever I go in life. Like that's like my life motto. Like I've barely read any libertarian books myself, to be honest with you, besides
I'm going
freedom.
to throw one more out there, and this is from 1976, but Walter Block's Defending the Undefendable, and you'll be able to find this for free. I think a lot of what we've talked about, at least the ones I brought up, are free to download at Mises.org, the Mises Institute. Defending the Undefendable is certainly out there, but that's one that really...
Libertarianism in One Lesson by David Berglund.
That's
also
a good one, too.
Really good book.
Defending the Undefendable is basically taking the premise that, okay, if we're truly going to defend free markets and things like that, then let's come up with a good way to... How do you defend the pimp? How do you defend the prostitute? How do you defend the drug pusher? How do you defend the libeler? It's really kind of an interesting thing to get you thinking and about these issues, and we all have our built-in bias against
that's
them.
where I always fall back on, like, even in that, right? Like I always fall back on individual responsibility and individual accountability, right? Like you could have two drug pushers. One's just trying to make a living. The other one, like, doesn't care if he mixes fentanyl or whatever and who dies from his stuff. Like, as long as he can make a quick buck, he doesn't care. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you can have two totally different people in the same exact business. So don't necessarily think that, make blanket judgments like they've never worked.
Carl, did we answer your question?
Give you a few titles?
You did, and I just wanted some suggestions. Before I go on to the second part of my... I have another question.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to recommend some things that I found helpful so far. I have enjoyed, I didn't think I would enjoy, but I really enjoyed some of the books by von Mises. The Anti-Capitalist Mentality was just really great, and his book, Bureaucracy. And I thought, looking, just from the outside, that von Mises would be kind of too deep or... and I wouldn't get it. But when I got into Anti-Capitalist Mentality, it's not a long book, and neither is Bureaucracy. It's really in plain English, and it's just superb. And I tend to read stuff more on the conservative side. I don't know where Walter Williams would fall in that, but I liked his Liberty versus the Tyranny of Socialism.
Yep.
I liked some of Thomas Sowell's stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up Thomas Sowell. That was probably my first exposure to something against Keynesian economics. So I credit Thomas Sowell with kind of opening my eyes early on. But yeah, you're right. Mises was Go ahead.
I understand that someone mentioned to me, or I read it somewhere, that Sowell was actually for legalization of drugs. And that actually links into the second question I was going to ask. I understand about the thing about marijuana. That's like, almost like, I guess, like light drugs. Like beer or something. You can still drive a car, kind of. But my question comes in: what's the libertarian take on hard drugs like crack cocaine? Marijuana is like a monkey on your back. Crack cocaine is like an 800-pound gorilla. And if hard drugs are legalized, there'll be more people who feel restrained now. Well, I'm not going to try that because that's illegal. I could get in trouble. I feel my conscience bothers me. Mm-hmm. But once it's legalized, you're going to expand the number of people that are going to experiment.
That's actually not in line.
Something you can experiment with.
Carl, that's actually not in line with countries like Portugal, where they removed all penalties for possession of what they consider personal amounts, which is a 10-day supply. If you have a 10-day supply of any drug in the United States, you're getting charged with intent to distribute.
Yeah, Portugal, they decriminalizing and legalizing, though, are two totally different things.
They depenalized. They removed all penalties. Carl, thank you for the call. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Your calls and thoughts welcome. This is Free Talk Live.
Dash is digital cash, a digital currency designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy, fees are low, and transactions are confirmed instantly. Pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime, for just pennies on the dollar. Dash is the first digital money that's governed by its users. Join Dash at dash.org and help build a better financial system for everyone. Find out more at dash.org.
I wish that we would have started the Dynovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynovite for your dog this week.
We'll send you a bottle of NomoFlea free.
NomoFlea flea spray kills fleas safely with no poison.
Because it's a polypeptide protein molecule made from
vegetable oil.
Try NomoFlea.
Free this week at Dynovite.com.
Just feed your dog right. Use Dynovite.
Dynovite for life.
DINOVITE.com.
If food became scarce, would you be able to feed yourself and your family? Have you found some emergency food supplies can cost upwards of $300 for a month's supply, and worst of all, they're packed with chemicals and other unpronounceable ingredients? At 30dayfood.com, our mission is to provide you with food that's not only healthy and natural, but also affordable. At 30dayfood.com, for only $127, you can order meals that are naturally high in fiber, carbs, and protein, packaged in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for superior shelf life. For a limited time only, your order ships free, but that's not all. Enter promo code PREP10 to receive 10% off your entire order. Call 800-700-2184 today. 30dayfood.com keeps prices low by buying directly from suppliers in the Pacific Northwest, then passing the savings along to you. Go to 30dayfood.com or call 800-700-2184 for the most cost-effective and healthy food storage solution. That's 30dayfood.com at 800-700-2184.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well,
I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Holy crap.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Possibly time for you and your thoughts if you call in now to 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And have you ever wanted to start your own website or blog, but you've not been able to put that idea into action? Well, you're in luck because HostGator, one of the top hosting companies out there, is offering a special deal to Free Talk Live listeners. Go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you can get up to 50% off their regular prices. Hosting your own website or blog can be intimidating, but HostGator makes it easy. HostGator offers a one-click, easy installation for WordPress, and they have 24 hours, 7-day per week over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive and user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation and the simplicity of use into the hands of you, the customer. HostGator has a 99.99% uptime rating, so you don't have to worry about outages. To get that special offer of up to 50% off for Free Talk Live listeners, visit HostGator.com/FTL. We had a caller in the last segment ask a question about the libertarian position on legalizing drugs. And he said that what he fears is that if you just allow people to, buy crack, then the number of people smoking crack will just increase precipitously.
Well, that's almost a common sense viewpoint. I understand why people would think that.
Let me ask the question, Chris, before I continue the answer that I started.
Right.
If heroin were legal right now,
right,
would you go pick up a dirty needle and inject yourself with heroin?
Of course not. But
if crack were legal, would you start smoking it?
Of course not. But the point is that people who have been raised in this culture of drug war for so long, honestly, I think a lot of them believe that the only thing preventing our children from picking up a needle or picking up a crack pipe is the laws that are against it. They believe that.
I've got a brilliant idea. And I'm saying this tongue firmly planted in my cheek. What is it like? I heard recently somewhere around 2 out of 3 Americans is considered overweight. So let's just ban fruits and vegetables and then re-legalize them, and then everybody will just start eating fruits and vegetables, right? Based on that weird logic?
Of course. I understand your point.
Let's, again, look at Portugal, where back in 2001, they removed all penalties. It wasn't just, what they consider decriminalization. It was all penalties, including those civil fines that wind up existing once decrim winds up.
Yeah, but they weren't selling it like on street corner or like in the local pharmacy. It wasn't like full blown legalized.
Right. So they don't allow for open sales, but there are no penalties for possession. No penalties.
And I think that's what the caller was asking, though, is like, what were our thoughts on like full blown legalization of these things?
Let me tell you what happened in Portugal, to where they stopped arresting people for possession, and I'm sure if somebody's selling it on a street corner, there may or may not be something, but drug use went down. Drug abuse went down. And I'm not just talking about a minor, like 5 percentage points. We're talking like 40 to 60% decrease. And at one time in this country, you could purchase heroin from the Sears and Roebuck catalog. At one time in this country, you could purchase heroin, or I already said that, morphine.
Sure.
From the Sears and Roebuck catalog. You could purchase...
Why would anybody do that? You could go right down to the corner pharmacy and buy it there.
Well, maybe you didn't want the pharmacist knowing how much you were buying, so you buy from the Sears and Roebuck catalog.
Point
You
noted.
could get your needles sent to your door through the Sears and Roebuck catalog.
Right.
And then, it was because of all of these weird sort of, racist tendencies that people in power had to where, well, I heard that, people are using cocaine and jazz music and white women, something blah, blah, blah. We've got to make this illegal.
Yeah.
And so then the FDA wound up being created to where it wasn't flat out illegal. It got there, slowly. You can only have these if you have a prescription.
Right.
You can only have this if you have a prescription. You can only have this. Then now we're limiting the amount, and then it slowly became this absolutely horrible, tyrannical thing that we have.
Well, what amazes me, and going back to really the early days of the first drug war, which I'll call it, is when the country went after marijuana,
right? With an H.
Right. This goes back to the days of reefer madness and stuff like that. But this was right after
alcohol prohibition.
After alcohol, not just after prohibition. It was after prohibition failed on a national scale.
Was an abysmal failure. I remember being taught in school that alcohol prohibition was an abysmal failure.
So bad, we had to amend the Constitution to implement it in the first place. And then they amended the Constitution, got 20 couple states to all repeal, to amend the Constitution again to remove it. It was that bad.
Right.
Yet here comes marijuana and all the fear about, immigrants, which is what it was really tied to back then.
Right.
And we do the same thing all over again.
If the fear is, somebody might wind up buying a really, really hard, quote unquote drug. Well, there are some really, really hard alcohols that are sold by a local government.
Right.
So, like you go drink a fifth of vodka, it's going to mess you up a lot more than if you drink a Budweiser.
Drink a cup of Everclear and you'll be in the grave.
Let's go back to the phones. We've got Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Oh, yes. So our mayor, Barry, he has bought 20 electric cars now for the ART bus.
He personally bought them. He went into his checking account and wrote a check to buy these cars?
No, I mean, most of it was, I think 70% of it was paid for by the federal tax dollars.
Oh,
yes.
We help pay for it, Darryl.
Yes. But anyways, it looks like it's going to be done maybe in 6 to 8 months or at the most 1 year. So people are just amazed that, we're tired of them just dragging out these projects forever, and, disrupting lives.
Hey, they can spend money quickly when they want to.
I want to ask you something. Why are you so upset about our tax dollars going to build something that people are going to use instead of $50 billion something war?
Well,
how come you guys don't get mad about that?
We do, Sarah. If you would listen to the show, you would know that we get upset about wars.
I wouldn't support either of those programs, Sarah. And when these things come out, it's not people giving voluntarily, and that's what we're about. Things should be voluntary. I wouldn't ask you to do something. I wouldn't demand and force you to do something against your will. And if I choose not to support these electric cars, then I should have the right to say, no, I don't want to support those. I have things locally I want to support, like a local food shelf or something like that.
I am one of the people, I'm one of the voters of Albuquerque that support this program.
That's fine.
There's many people, like the students, but there's a lot of people that don't like it.
Sure.
But, we live in a world where that's why we have a vote. We elect officials. The elected officials that we vote for have voted for this.
That's why I'm trying to change your world.
Well, the thing about it is that we live in this world where, let's get real. We all have different opinions. We all have different views, and we all have to live with one another.
No, we all have different opinions and different views, and the system that you described to where, we, the collective we, elect city councilors and mayors and state representatives and senators, and then that group of people, they don't care what anybody that votes wants. They are going to wind up doing what they want.
I don't think you can necessarily say everybody that gets elected doesn't care about their constituents, because I think there are a lot of kind-hearted, well-intentioned people that do.
I didn't say they weren't well-intentioned.
But there's no pleasing everybody, and that's why I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I'm almost glad I didn't win my state senate election back in 2014, because you know what? Once you're in that hot seat, you're in that power seat, there is no pleasing everyone, right? No matter what you do, you could just eliminate government, people are going to be mad. You could just impose government, people are going to be mad. No matter what you do, you're never going to please everybody. And so it's a matter of, okay, what do you do?
Right. You're not in the job of making people pleased. You're supposed to be in the job of serving. And people forget that when they get into
Congress has an approval rating of about 12% the last I saw, but yet 90% wind up getting reelected because they draw the legislative. The elected representatives pick their constituents, not the other way around. Sarah, thank you for the call. We're out of time for tonight, but we are always online at freetalklive.com. Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009.